Hello there. So in this video I want to tell you the answer to the question in my post. So in my very recent post, that is, if you've seen this post before, this was the picture in my post. uh, I asked you guys to guess how I got this highlight look as shiny as it did, uh, and I got a bunch of guesses from you guys, and I'm taking them as kind of suggestions because they were like amazing suggestions. So if you're looking to shoot something like this in the future, I suggest you go look in the comment section. I got a bunch of amazing guesses which happen to be suggestions for future shoots, but a few of you did get it right. So if you know, if you've used Lightroom before, if you have like a basic knowledge of Lightroom, you know pretty much what I did. But for those who don't know, those who are like looking to learn more about Lightroom or more about photo editing in general, that's what this video is for. The answer is really the brush tool, or the adjustment brush tool in Lightroom. So I'll tell you what that is first. So put very simply, if you've made any color corrections in Lightroom before, whether it's the desktop version or the mobile version, you know how it works, right? So you adjust the exposure, the contrast, the highlights, shadows, whatever controls that you see over here. So that is the normal way that you edit the picture. Now what the adjustment brush lets you do is it lets you select certain area of the picture that you want to select, and you can make all these changes specific to those areas, so it won't affect the rest of the picture. It'll affect just that area. And this is basically like non-destructive editing, so it won't change anything about the base picture. It'll just put like a layer on top of it and make the changes on top of it. Now it might sound very complicated, but if you see how it works, it's super simple. Generally people do prefer to do these sorts of changes in Photoshop. That is the kind of changes that you would use the adjustment brush for. But if you are kind of lazy like me, or if you prefer this sort of interface to do it, or if you prefer to do it all in Lightroom, that is what the adjustment brush is for. Now I didn't tell you what exactly it does yet, so I will get to that. So as you can see, so when I went to this adjustment brush, it's showing me all these dots over here, right? What those dots mean are like different areas that I selected and made different changes to each dot. So I'll tell you what that is. So I select this dot. So I selected this for the shadow area of the picture, or the darker area of the picture, just to brighten them up just a little bit. So I selected this area, and you can see the settings as well. So I just increase the exposure by 0.2, and that's what it does. So let's see if I get rid of it. That's what the picture looks like. But if I go back, that's what it does with the adjustment brush. So it's just brightening up just a bit. Now that's like the simplest way to use it. But if you can see on the plate, it is a bit too bright. So the previous one, it was a bit too dark, so I brightened it up a little bit. So if I delete this, so that's how the plate looked like. The highlight was there, and I found it a bit distracting from the main dish and the chicken pieces and the main subject matter of the picture. So what I did was I selected just the highlight area and I reduced the exposure a bit. So you can see that over here. So it's minus 0.6 stops of the exposure, nothing else changed, only that. So that's what I did. So this is like the very basic simple application of it. There are other ways to apply it, more complex ways to apply it. Something, if you are going for a layer more, is, so I selected these cardamoms over here, right? So why I did that was I found the cardamom was not like popping as much, it was not standing out much. So I selected just the cardamoms and I boosted up the greens, I boosted up the exposure just a bit, and I also boosted up the saturation so that it popped in the picture a bit more. Otherwise it was like too similar to the backdrop, or like very grayish color. It was not like popping as much. But yeah, Lightroom let me do that. Now to the main point of the video. So here is what I did. So just to get those shines to shine even more, what I did was I selected just the highlight areas and I boosted up the highlights and the exposure just a bit more. So that's all I did. So let me, for your sake, I will just delete this. So that's what it looked like without any adjustments, and that's what it looks like after the adjustments. So this was the point of the video. I'm going to delete this and I'm going to do it all over again. So I'm going to, the adjustment brush is selected. So I'm going to the exposure 0.65, highlights 35. That is fine. It was at 6 and 30, I think, but that's fine. It should be fine. So now I'm looking for just the highlight areas. So I don't want to paint on the shadow areas, because if I paint on the shadow areas, it'll just look like I pointed another light at the chicken, and it's not going to look very like natural. So I'm just pointing out the highlights over here, or just brushing on the highlights over here, not the shadows. I'm avoiding the shadows on purpose, just to make it look like the uh, chicken is shiny. Yeah. Now if I were to use like a catch light sort of thing, like another light, and I put some oil on the chicken, this is basically what it would look like. uh, it'll be slightly different. It won't look the exact same as this. Here I'm just boosting up whatever current lighting there is. That would add like another light source to it, so it'll add more shadows, so more complex things. So I did not want to mess with that, so I thought I'll just do it in editing, and that is basically what I did. So let's go over here. So I'm looking for the areas that are like already shiny, and I'm just adding another layer of shininess basically. I'm doing a bit of a rough job. This was for a client, so the previous time I did that, this was like I did it even more carefully. But this is just to show you the concept of how it works. So I'm just doing like a rough job. Yeah, okay, that looks all right. Might be a bit too much. I'm gonna reduce the highlights a bit, and yeah, okay, that's it. So that is this is before, and this is after. So let me zoom out. So before, oops, so before and after. So that's a zoomed out look. So it's already making the chicken pop way more. uh, so if I turn down all the adjustment brushes, so without the adjustment brushes, this is what the image looks like. This is width. So without, width, without, width. So we can make all these micro adjustments with the adjustment brush. And that is about it. The secret is out. So I can't wait to see how you guys use it. So if you do use it, do tag me in it or just send it over to me. I'd love to see what you do with it. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful.